So this was a different kind of welcome home. This is a different kind of welcome home. This was nothing like a slave cabin would have looked like. So welcome home in 2023. Welcome home in 2023. And as I came in on yesterday, I stood and I looked at the back of the house. And I looked at the back of the house because that would have been their entrance. That would have been mostly what they would have seen on an everyday basis. And to be able to see it from their point of view. I don't know the exact location. We don't know the exact locations of where or how far the slave cabins were from the house. But we know in most instances they were not this close. The only thing that would have been this close would have been the kitchen. And some other needed wash house and those types of things. But when I came in, I looked out of the window. Then I said, all right, let me go out of the back door because I wanted a different view. And so to see a whole different view of what is now here, homes, families living in this space, living in the same spaces that would have been that of cabins and barns and stables and carriage houses and all of those things that would have made this a self-sustaining plantation. Now I'm looking at it from a total different vantage point. I'm looking at it from their experience, but I'm looking at it on what does it mean to take a story and what does it mean to take that story and to allow it to empower people. So that story that I have been telling here at Pebble Hill has been that story of one of empowerment for my family. What do we do coming out of the experience of slavery? What do we do coming out of the experiences of the horridness of slavery? And how do we now build based on all that was taken away from us? And so I began to think about those people that lived out back, how after they were freed, how after emancipation that in the years following they were farmers and they worked as domestics and they began to establish communities and they began to build churches and build schools, and these were the same people that were out back doing the work. They began to now forge their own lives, still under the threat of now coming out of slavery, and everybody's not happy because slavery is over, the war had ended. But understanding how do we make a living now? How do we make a life, and how do we grow our families? Understanding now it's on us to make these things happen, and understanding it was always down in us because within our DNA that we brought from the continent, we understood how to make a way, how to etch out a living, and it was here behind this big house that these people live. Now we have communities, we have schools, we have all of these things that are the testament and testimony of their ingenuity, their unique genius, their creativity, their innovation. And now what does it mean to pass that to the next generation of not only student, next generation of those within a family, within my own family in particular? And what does that look like when I tell you, as my grandmother and my mother and those people in my family said, all right, you've made that achievement. Now you've got to go farther. All right, that's good. Now go farther. And I understood that the go farther came from right out here behind the house. You've got to go farther, and you've got to do it because there are people that they gave their lives because of it. So that's what I thought about while I was here yesterday. When I came out back, I took a walk around the house just to get a good glimpse of the house, but also making sure that I remembered the reason why I was here. I'm not here just as a guest. I am a descendant of this sacred property, returning home, returning to a space that was home but wasn't home. It was home, but they longed for a home that they called their own. It was home, but they remembered Africa. It was home, but they understood that there were threats and insecurities in this space that was supposed to be considered home, but they endured the whole space and endured it. Why? so that people like me one day could return. They never knew I would exist. They never knew, but they had a hope and they had a dream that I would exist one day. And they like big families, and those big families turned into my family. And as that big family turned into my family, it allowed me to be the beneficiary not only of this history, not only of these stories, but as my grandmother would say, the can-do-itness. That whatever you put your mind to, you can do. Whatever you set your hands to, you can do. Don't let anyone stop you and make you think that it can't be done. We're here because someone took the time to ensure that we had a space to be in. And so in the Lowry house, we have lots of art and lots of books that people have written, and art that people have painted, and art that is a photograph that of families' connection to Burkhorn Creek. I know some people that are from Burkhorn Creek, and their families were uniquely enslaved in Burkhorn Creek. But understanding that all of these creations came out of somebody's mind. All of these creations, even this guest house, came out of somebody's mind, somebody's heart, and that being the ingenuity to allow a story to continue. So I'm glad that I was able to come and hang out here in the Lowry house. I left my guest note and message in the guest book because I was taught to always be a gracious guest when someone is hosting you. And so I not only thank Mark and his staff, but I thank my ancestors for allowing me the opportunity to come back and hang out in this space.